Uh-oh. Excuse me. Okay, good. Because you didn't want to be late this time.
Pause WHG or call 304-639-7754.
For all of your IT needs, visit OmniPerforms.com. Omni Strategic Technologies, the only IT company that the watchdog trusts.
It's time we put a stop to a few things. Right now, the DC establishment has all the power. The For the People Act will stop that. Billionaires buying West Virginia's elections, the For the People Act will stop that. Politicians and their families getting rich while we pay for it? Yep, the For the People Act will stop that too. Senator Manchin, you've always had West Virginia's back. Don't stop now. Stop corruption in its tracks and support the For the People Act, paid for by Represent Us. It's time we put a stop to a few things. Americans voting on machines that aren't made in America? The For the People Act will stop that. States using hackable voting machines with no paper trail? The For the People Act will stop that. Elections with no way to do careful audits or recounts by hand? Yep, the For the People Act will stop that too. Senator Manchin, you've always had West Virginia's back. Don't stop now. Stop election interference and support the For the People Act, paid for by Represent Us.
You took the first step and quit smoking, but even former smokers may still be at risk for lung cancer. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know about a new low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early. It takes only 60 seconds and could save your life. You took the first step, now take the next. Visit SaveByTheScan.org for a simple quiz to see if you're eligible and talk to your doctor about screening. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
Hello, everyone, from the Watchdog. I'm the Storm Tracker Darnell Foster with a look at your local weather forecast for your Wednesday. Mostly cloudy with a few afternoon showers and thunderstorms. A daytime high near 76. The overnight low of 60 degrees under mostly cloudy skies and showers likely. Those showers continue on and off as we go through your Thursday with a daytime high in the lower 70s. Have yourself a great day, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of this station or its sponsors.
Faster than a speeding bullet.
I'm a superhero!
More powerful than a locomotive.
I'm a superhero. That's who I am.
Able to leap tall buildings at a single bound.
I'm like a superhero or something.
Hey, I'm a superhero too. Look, up in the sky. It's a bird.
It's a plane!
It's National Superhero Day.
Your superpower is being the best
Morning show.
Come on, it's showtime.
Something to think about, something to laugh about, and something to talk about every day. This is the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe. Brought to you in part by Wheeling Hospital.
National Superhero Day, huh? Biffy, who's your favorite superhero? Got one?
Probably Superman.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with the big blue, right? I mean, Superman you can't go wrong with. Is this the weekend they're doing Marvel characters at the Nailers game, or was that last weekend?
No, it would be Saturday night, May 1st.
It's coming Saturday night, so.
Yep.
There's some superheroes, the Nailers game, too. I'm trying to think. I've always been, you can't go wrong with Superman, no question. Superman's the first. When I just heard the intro of the beginning of that little intro there, I remember when I was a kid, Biffy, long before you would be watching TV, long before you were born. The Adventures of Superman TV show was absolutely, it was appointment television. I think it was 5 o'clock every night. Look, up in the sky, it's a bird, it's a plane. No, it's Superman. Dun, 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 dun. And we could all say that. We knew it. We watched it. It came on right after The Edge of Night soap opera. Because I always enjoyed watching the end of The Edge of Night, and then along came Superman. And I still, to this day, will sometimes go on YouTube and look up some of those old Superman episodes. So you can't go wrong with Superman, but I was kind of a DC Comics kind of guy when I grew up. The Flash and Green Lantern, those kind of folks. Grandson Teddy goes back and forth. I ask him, who's your favorite superhero? Often it's Iron Man or Captain America, but then sometimes it's Batman. He has a Batman suit. Y'all have probably seen it on Facebook. I put pictures of him in his Batman suit on there. So he has different superheroes, and we play a lot of superheroes here in this household. We play a lot of superheroes. Your kids, little ones, Biffy, not yours, but the family, little kids, are they into superheroes at all?
Oh, the little guy loves Spider-Man.
Oh, Spider-Man, yeah.
So he's got a Spider-Man shirt, and whenever he sees somebody, it's the first thing he points to, and he goes, Spider-Man, Spider-Man. He points to his shirt, and yeah, buddy, I know you got Spider-Man there. And then he's got a little Superman, one of those figures that he plays with and makes fly, but yeah, he definitely makes it a point to let you know he's got a Spider-Man shirt on. So
yeah, Teddy's big on Spider-Man. I forgot about that. Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. Yeah, Teddy loves Spider-Man. Okay, so National Superhero Day. Put on a cape and fly today. Just go fly somewhere. Did you ever do that when you were a kid, Biffy? This is a geeky thing, and people will now make fun of me. I'll start getting texts. I used to have my mom pin a towel on my shirt, so like I had a cape, and then I would fly through the house with my cape.
Towel, type of blanket. So anything you could find that looked like a cape, you did, and you ran around the house acting like you were flying, yes.
Exactly right. Coming up a little bit later on this hour, Hoppy Kercheval and I are going to talk about the implications of this congressional redistricting as a result of the new census. Of course, the big story really is beyond just the congressional redistricting. We're the only state in the union that's lost population over the last 70 years, and we've got to talk about that. But Hoppy and I will mainly talk about what's going to happen with the congressional redistricting. We'll get into that with Hoppy coming up a little bit later on this morning. And the First Lady of West Virginia has invited students to rename West Virginia in an essay contest for West Virginia Day. I've been asking you if you all have any thoughts at 304-214-1600, our text line, or 304-232-8255, our City Net hotline. Let's see, Alan says, since Virginia extends he's got to be so practical. Since Virginia extends further west than West Virginia, the name should be North Virginia. There's no creativity in that. Sorry, Alan. Geez. And we're all northern West Virginia. We're northern West Virginia anyways, right? And by the way, if we ever separate, I've often said, sometimes I feel like we in the Northern Panhandle should separate from the rest of the state, because sometimes I feel like they don't love us anymore. I think that our new state should be the independent state of Panhandlia. It's been my suggestion. But if you have any thoughts on what the state should be renamed, the essay contest on by First Lady Kathy Justice, if you have any thoughts on that, you can let me know. Biffy, you had someone pop in and tell you one suggestion, right?
Yes, the state of Stupidia.
All righty then. All right, 66 degrees at the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport. It's cloudy, going to be muggy today, and we'll see temperatures up to around 77. Look for some rain coming in this afternoon. Could even be a few storms by mid-afternoon today. There is a project being considered in the city of Wheeling that I'm very much in support of and have been for years, but it has faced a lot of opposition in the past, and it is at least facing a lot of questions right now. And this is this proposed rental inspection program. Basic idea is simply to make sure that houses that are rented meet basic health and safety standards. I think Councilman Ben Seiler is kind of the point man for this, and so I invited Ben to come on and talk to us about it. Ben, good morning. Give me the overview, just in a couple of sentences. How is this rental inspection program, as you envision it, going to work?
Sure. Hey, Howard, how are you? Thanks for having me on. So the way I see it working is, we have a lot of great landlords in our city that really do treat their tenants right and do great things with their properties. So what we're focusing on is making sure that we build a rental inspection program that is not cost prohibitive, that's not a burden to landlords, as long as they're doing the right thing. So this rental inspection program is basically a self-inspection program in which a landlord would register their property once a year, and they would fill out a checklist, basically a self-inspection checklist, and provide that to the city, certifying that basically these number of issues are, these number of criteria successfully pass the inspection, and that their house is has the basic health and safety features needed to give somebody good housing. So we have some teeth behind the scenes to make sure that those things get enforced, but out of the gate, it's a self-inspection program, so we're doing a lot of work to make sure we're as hands-off as we can be. Our goal is not to be a burden on landlords, on landlords, and we don't really want, we don't want to really cause them harm. We want to encourage landlords to invest in our city, invest in their properties. So the self-inspection program, we think, is the best way to do that.
Where's the checklist going to come from? City's going to create it, or some entity's going to create it? And what kinds of things will you be looking for in the checklist that they could begin with a self-inspection for? What sorts of things will be there?
Sure. So the checklist is created by the city. It's just a basic building code thing. So, there's probably a dozen things on there, maybe a couple more, but basically we're saying, do you have permanent heat? Do you have running water? Do you have electricity? Do you have toilets that flush? Do you have doors and windows that open and close securely? Things like that. Is the outside of your property safe? Are the steps safe? Is your property full of junk, and is it cleaned up? So basically, if you have a tenant that leaves and they throw all their stuff out in the backyard or the side yard or the front yard, like we see so frequently over here, part of this checklist says, is that all cleaned up? So this is just basically the basic building code things. You and I both kind of share a phrase that we don't have to make it Woodsdale using building code. We can't force properties to be beautiful, but we can certainly enforce that they're up to code.
Yeah, I really think that's an important point to talk about here. I haven't actually seen your inspection checklist, but from what I understand, we're not talking about everybody has to be, upper middle class type housing. We understand, I shouldn't say we, the city understands that there is a need for a variety of different types of housing, costs of housing, and so on, and not every home is going to be, quote, a Woodsdale home.
Absolutely.
So you're not going to be, it's not like everybody has to be painted in Victorian colors, or everybody has to plant lilac bushes in the front yard. It's not that. It's basic health and safety standards. Am I correct about that?
You're spot on. In a different topic on a different day, we can talk design preservation review, which I'm also a fan of, but basic building code is not design preservation, review. Those are, and I know you're not applying that, but, we have neighborhoods that we're really pushing hard to make beautiful through other methods, but this is not one of them. We absolutely have a need for housing at all different levels in our city, and quite frankly, some of the, a lot of the housing here, most of the housing here on Wheeling Island is absolutely beautiful. And we're not doing this just for Wheeling Island, but, one of the other issues with this that we're trying to address here is also, aside from just making them safe and up to code, we're also helping clean up our neighborhood and clean up the blight, because a lot of these properties, we've got issues where places have, gigantic gaps in their doors and windows, and basements don't close securely. Windows have huge gaps. Not only does that allow the heat and air conditioning to escape rapidly, causing some of these folks incredible utility bills, but it also allows rodents to enter. And when we have these houses that are so far beyond code, especially when they're being rented out, those rodents move to the neighborhood, the overgrown, all the weeds and everything. It really just affects the neighborhood as a whole. It only really takes one bad house on a block to ruin the whole block, deteriorate the block. So, we can bring up the quality of our entire neighborhood. We don't have to make it Woodsdale per se, as we like to say. But there goes having a house and having property that's just up to code goes a long way to making our neighborhoods safer and cleaner. And a lot of these folks shouldn't have to live in fear of eviction for causing problems for their landlords by trying to get them to fix their problems.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about how this follows through. So. Landlords would be given, if this program is approved as it stands right now, landlords would be required to do a self-inspection on a checklist that the city would provide. Adequate safety measures, you say toilets flush, handrails on steps, those kinds, of things. So the landlord would check these things off and say, yep, I meet the code. And then the tenants, if a tenant feels that it's not being done properly, what does a tenant do?
So let's take one step back. The landlord will do that checklist, that certification. They'll provide that to the city. They're also going to be required to hand that to the tenant when the tenant signs the lease or the tenant takes possession of the property. So the tenant's going to look over that list and say right off the bat, like, wait, what do you mean? This is good. We don't have a front window, or there's no heat here, okay? So that's one of the ways. But we have verbiage in here that's explicitly intended to protect landlords as well. Because the last thing we want to do is create a situation where we've given maybe a tenant an opportunity to suck us into the middle of a landlord-tenant dispute. And if there's a legitimate safety issue, sure, we want to help, but we don't want to be getting involved. So our verbiage in this ordinance says, first of all, that if there's an issue with your property, it's the tenant's responsibility to immediately notify the landlord of an issue. Okay, so that doesn't mean 6 months later when you're angry at your landlord for some reason. That means when you notice the issue, it's your responsibility to immediately notify them. And as part of this packet that will handle landlords will be that the landlord will pass on to the tenant, will be a form, just kind of a boilerplate form that's a complaint form to their landlord, so that they can document the issue to their landlord. If they need to send it to them, they can, just write on this paper, dear landlord, this is the problem I'm having, and we'll add some verbiage to that form that says, basically that the tenant will give the landlord the opportunity to come in and correct the issue within a reasonable amount of time too. So that we don't have an issue where somebody's complaining about something, but they're not giving their landlord an opportunity to fix it. Now, what that means is if a tenant calls in and tries to make a complaint, the first thing out of our mouth is going to be, have you given your landlord adequate notice and a reasonable opportunity to fix this problem? Okay, because again, we don't want to get in the middle of the disputes. We really think that landlords, for the most part, do a really great job, and when they know about problems, they're responsive and they fix those things. But if the tenant is not giving that landlord a reasonable amount of time to fix that problem, we're not going to jump in and jump all over that landlord. Rental property is a maintenance. It's just a maintenance deal. It's just like tires or brakes on your car. Things happen just like in our own houses. So
what happens, Ben? What happens if? So I'm just trying to follow this all the way through. They do a checklist. They give it to the tenant. The tenant says, "Wait a minute. You said that there's heat, and there's no heat. I'm giving you an official form that says I don't have heat. I'd like you to fix it." And the landlord doesn't do that. Then what happens? At some point, does the city get involved in? I know I get your point. You're not there to mediate landlord-tenant disputes, but at some point, do you?
Absolutely. So once they've provided us enough information to know that they've actually given them a reasonable amount of time to correct an issue, they call the city and we'll contact the landlord and do an inspection. We'll come out and inspect the property inside and outside, and we'll address any violations as needed. Now, when that inspection happens, we'll give the landlord a citation if we need to, or a letter to correct it within however many days. And as long as the landlord does that, no harm, no foul. You're not on our list. You're not on our radar. And thank you for taking care of it. All those things. But where this gets teeth is after that, if the landlord doesn't correct that within the reasonable amount of time based on whatever category it falls into. Some things are like you have 30 days. Some things are you have 12 hours to fix that if it's something that's seriously a safety issue. If they don't do that, at that point, that property would be classified as a problem property. And that would require the city to inspect that property twice per year until the point in which the city's done 2 successful inspections. So 2 inspections have passed. And once that happens, then that property can go back to being self-inspected again. But, once you fall on that list of a problem property, the city can then say, depending on how many you have, we can say, okay, we're going to inspect this property twice a year, or we're going to force you to let us inspect all of your properties twice a year until they.
I would assume you have a $25. Is it per unit fee? Is that what the $25 is per unit?
That's what we're currently looking at. That's not a final number yet. We're obviously still in discussions with this, and we've got we'll be scheduling another session with folks to come in a public hearing and just a public work session, really, to discuss it. But that's where we're at right now. And that fee, as it stands right now, would be a direct pass-through to a third-party company that would help administer this program. And that's part of the reason we want to do that. So it's really important that if we're going to pass this program, that the city does it with excellence. We don't want to do a half-baked program. And so by contracting with a third-party company, they will do a number of things for us. They will identify rental property within our city, and we've already done kind of a test run of that with them to see how many more they think we have than we really do, and they found plenty more that we didn't even know about. But also, they handle the registration process. They handle the administration process of notifications and letters that go out. They handle the renewals. They also handle a big thing for us, and that is, a lot of times the city has a very hard time figuring out who owns a property.
Yeah.
Once it kind of goes through, if somebody passes away, it gets handed down to a family member. So one of the things we do is our code enforcement folks and our people in that department, they jump through hoops just trying to figure out who they have to send the letter to. And sometimes, that's really painful. This organization that we would probably partner with does that across the country, and they do that very well. So they are masters of identifying, the property owners who owns it. They track down federal records, state records, deeds, all those things, so they can, they really know who owns the property. So that's the other part that helps us out greatly.
Now, let me begin this next question by saying most landlords do a good job. Most want to provide basic health and safety. They want to provide a good place for their tenants to live, and they want to do it in as reasonable way as they can. Large numbers, I don't know what the numbers are, but a huge number are good. But there are some who are not. And I know when this proposal came up before in a different form a number of years ago, one thing that some of the landlords said was, well, You want to charge me $25? I'll just tack $25 onto my rent, and I'll raise everybody's rent. And these are people that you're worried about that they're in substandard housing to begin with, and now you're going to make them have to pay more. What do you say to that?
I can tell you that a number of people showed up to our first work session the other day, and I don't think the newspaper got it right. There was probably 20-some people, but I wouldn't say that those 20 were all landlords. It was probably split pretty well half and half, and I can tell you that each and every one of those residents that came in that were struggling in tears just trying to have safe housing would have absolutely paid $25 if that's what it took for their landlord to make their apartment nice and safe. And that $25, a year really equates to about $2.08 a month. So, I get it, but, some of the responses were, well, this is going to cause us to raise rent. It's going to cause us to raise rent. Well, we're talking $2.08 a month, and if that causes you to raise rent, okay. I don't love that, and I'm not being heartless on that, but what really is probably going to cause them to raise rent more is the fact that a lot of these properties, and not the good ones, but a lot of these properties, there's hundreds of properties in our city that aren't up to code, even close, and that are rental properties. And if the landlord's got to invest money to bring those things up to code, at least make them safe. Again, we're not talking about beautiful. We're just talking about up to the bare minimum basic health and safety standards. If that makes them, raise their rents, well, shame on them for charging them what they're charging right now to live in a place that isn't even safe or
Yeah, I'm speculating here, and again, I don't mean to demean most landlords, but there are some I know some. I think your point is well taken. It's not the $25 fee that they're worried about having to pass on to their tenants. It's the fact that they know they're going to end up having to bring things up to code, which is going to cost them more money. And that's where they're going. Yeah, well, I'll have to charge my tenants more rent. And it's because they've allowed things to get so bad. Now, that's my opinion. I'm just offering. That's the way I think some of these landlords think.
And I absolutely share your opinion on that. And again, I don't mean any disrespect to the good landlords, because there's tons of them. There are so many of them. And again, I've spent countless. I've been working on this program I've been on council for less than a year, and I've been working on this rental inspection program for 4 years now. But at the end of the day, it's a cost of doing business, and your business is providing safe housing to tenants. And if you're not doing that, and I'm sorry, but that's a cost of doing business. You can't go into a sandwich shop here in the city and be served lunch meat that's 3 weeks old. Everybody has a cost of doing business, and the $25 fee. We're working to see what our options are to subsidize that if we can, and we're still looking at that. It's not finalized, but in terms of the rest of the stuff, if they're not willing to bring their properties up to at least a safe level of code, then they're in the wrong business. Get the heck out of our, get out.
That's harsh, but I would agree with you. One landlord said, according to the intel at least, one landlord said at the meeting, your public works meeting this week, basically said, I agree with you, but if the city had been enforcing its codes all along, we wouldn't be reaching I don't want to call it crisis, but we wouldn't be reaching such a serious level right now. That the city has not done a good job of adequately enforcing codes on buildings all along. I think there's some validity to that argument.
There's an incredible amount of truth to that argument. That was actually a resident that came to speak in favor of the rental inspection program due to the conditions we're in now. They spoke in favor of it, but they're absolutely right. Had we done code enforcement effectively and proactively over the years, we certainly wouldn't be in the position we are right now. And partly is not just on those individual properties, but what we've allowed is a certain subset of slumlords to infiltrate some of our neighborhoods because we've allowed some things to happen, and we've allowed it to be okay. It's kind of like the broken window thing. Once you have a broken window here, it just makes it okay. Well, I can do it too, or I can do it too. And it's not only just code allowed the conditions of one or two individual buildings to happen, especially with the good landlords. It's we've created a mentality in some of our neighborhoods that this kind of housing is just okay, so let's buy it all up as cheap as we can while we pound it into the ground until the building has exceeded its useful life, and then walk away from it and let the city pay to tear it down. And that's what we've become, and that ends. That's over. Those days are gone.
And what kind of
our code enforcement department now has been restructured and been doing a fantastic job. We're getting ready to add technology there. But that point is absolutely spot on. Our city, our neighborhoods would be in incredibly better conditions had we done proactive code enforcement many years ago.
So your next step is more public involvement, another meeting, maybe the Public Safety Committee, get some more landlord and tenant input. Is that where you're going next with this?
Absolutely. So one of the things that were brought up, one of the things that was brought up was on our checklist, we had, we plagiarized some of this stuff. I mean, we didn't write this from scratch. We reached out to municipalities that do this well and asked, how their ordinances are structured and whether we could, leverage some of those things. And one of the things on our checklist that we had that slipped fastest was peepholes. We need to make sure that the doors obviously have locks, but also have peepholes. Well, somebody brought that up the other day, and it slipped past us. Yeah, we don't care if they have peepholes. We don't expect it. We're going to remove that from the list. That's kind of why we're talking to people. We wouldn't expect every landlord in Wheeling to go replace all their doors or install peepholes in all their doors. So, we're certainly, it's our absolute goal to make this right. And I kind of made a bold statement, towards the end of that session the other day that said, look, it's not a matter of if or when we put a rental inspection program in. If council decides to vote it down, that's one thing, but I'm not stopping until we get to that point. So rental inspection, as far as I'm concerned, is coming. That being said, we want to make it right. And we have a very vested interest in making it right because we really do want to protect good landlords, and we really do want landlords to invest here in the city of Wheeling and invest in their properties, and we want them to make them beautiful. We can't force them to, but once we start getting to that point, I mean, neighborhood pride's contagious, and I keep saying that. But so, I kind of lost my point. I was rambling there, but
one way to just leave it at that. Neighborhood pride is contagious. I would agree with you. Yeah. So there's likely to be more public opportunity for comment, both at a public safety committee meeting. Folks who have some thoughts, landlords, tenants, or the general public can catch you or offer some thoughts to any of the council members. And then, so what do you think? I mean, what are we looking at? A couple months down the road before something would be implemented? Do you think?
Oh, I hope not. We have some scheduling conflicts next week, and we'll be scheduling another public safety meeting to get public involvement and discuss it the following week. And hopefully we'll be really close at that point. I mean, I feel like this ordinance is really close. A couple of things that are still up in the air are obviously the fee. We have a lot of pushback on that fee. Again, it's $25 a unit. It's a cost of doing business. I struggle with that. I get it, but I also don't get it. But nonetheless, we're going to hear the feedback on that, and we want to make sure that our checklist and our requirements make sense to the landlords. Another topic, which may even be a conversation for a different day, Howard, but a lot of landlords brought up the topic about what are we going to do for them to protect them from the tenants that destroy their apartments.
And that's a very fair question. That's a very fair question.
It's an incredible common theme, and unfortunately, the city doesn't have any authority, doesn't have a jurisdiction to get involved in those landlord-tenant disputes at that level. That's partly the reason why we're going to great lengths to make them talk together without, pulling a stunt on the landlord and just turning their lives upside down. But, we don't have any authority over the magistrates or landlord-tenant law at the city level. I would love to because we hear it every day, but there's just nothing we can do at the city level to make magistrates or our court systems give landlords more rights in terms of collecting, money back when somebody goes and destroys their place. What I can say to that point is this process, by having a yearly inspection, does give a landlord documentation that I think, I'm not a lawyer, I don't offer legal advice, but I think couldn't hurt their cause, that they've got an inspection checklist that they can get their tenants to sign when they move in that says these things are in working order and this house passes this inspection, and have that landlord and have the tenant sign off on it and say, yes, it does, so that if they get into a court battle, I can't imagine that level of documentation is going to hurt their cause, but again, I realize that is much bigger than us at the city level, and it's certainly something that needs to be addressed.
Ben, I need to call it quits for now. We'll have some more conversation on this perhaps as time goes by. I want to see what some of the other council members think about this, and I'm sure you're going to fine-tune this so when we get a little closer to a final idea, we'll talk some more. I have to run right now. I appreciate the work you're doing, though. I've long been in favor of this. I think we need a rental inspection program. I think the tenants deserve to be protected for basic health and safety. I had a son that worked in a building, that lived in a house in Wheeling, kept telling the landlord there's something wrong with the furnace, and then one night the whole building burned down. So that kind of stuff has got to stop.
That's what we got to stop.
I'm completely with you on the concept. It's just working out the details now. I got to run. Ben, thank you for your time this morning.
Thanks,
I appreciate
Howard.
it. We'll be in touch.
Thanks. Take care.
All right. Wheeling Councilman Ben Seidler. Again, I'm a firm believer in this concept of a rental inspection program. And I know the potential problems, and I know the feedback that landlords give, but people deserve to live in basically safe environments. Again, nobody's talking, I don't think anybody's talking about it. Nobody's talking about bringing everything up to Woodsdale standards, and that's just a line that I use. I mean, there are many fine neighborhoods in the Upper Ohio Valley, but my point is, we're not talking about having to make everything look like an upper middle class household. Some people are not going to be able to afford it. That's fine. But they ought to have basic electricity, and they ought to have heat, and the windows ought to not be broken, and those kinds of things. So that's what it's about. Hoppy Kirchville and I are going to talk about congressional representation. That's coming up next on the Watchdog Morning Show after we check some headlines in sports.
The WTRF Channel 7 News Update.
WKKX, the Watchdog.
Good Wednesday morning, Ohio Valley. I'm Stephen Ruffing with your 7 News headlines. The CDC now has new mask guidelines. Health officials say fully vaccinated Americans don't need to wear masks out. Concerts, and other crowded places. Taking a look across the Mountain State, more and more West Virginians are recovering from the virus. In the last 24 hours, health officials have announced 366 recoveries. Active cases continue their downward trend. Less than 7,000 COVID cases are currently active in the state. Governor Justice will have more in his briefing today, scheduled for 2 o'clock. Several acres of land were destroyed following a large brush fire in Cameron. Fire Captain Ron Walker tells us the blaze broke out Monday afternoon. Flames started after a power line crashed down due to high winds. Crews were able to bring the fire under control, but not for long. It rekindled yesterday due to hot spots. 30-mile-per-hour winds were once again an issue, spreading the fire more quickly. The scene was eventually cleared by 9 o'clock last night. There were no injuries or any damage to buildings. And now's a look at your headlines. Have a great day, everyone.
Mark your calendars for 2028, and WVU's big man is off to the pros. Hi, everyone. I'm Dan Zangrilli. I'll tell you about an SEC opponent added to WVU's future football schedule, and the latest on Derek Culver coming up in today's Mountaineer Report, presented by Kroger here on MSN, the Mountaineers Sports Network.
Did you know that 1 in 8 Americans struggle with hunger? Yet more than 40% of the food we produce is thrown out. At Kroger, we know we can do something about this. We're donating more food to local food banks through our partnership with Feeding America. And we're working with World Wildlife Fund to end food waste. But we can't do it alone, and we hope you'll join us in creating a world with zero hunger and zero waste. Visit thekrogerco.com to learn how you can help.
Love getting prices that are lower than low on backyard favorites like grill-ready hamburgers and fresh-picked strawberries? Then shop at Kroger. We give you more ways to save on the fresh you love with tools like the Kroger app, where you can find personalized coupons on top of weekly sales, plus rewards like fuel points, giving you prices that are lower than the everyday low. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
After initially taking to social media to refute a report earlier this week that he had signed with an agent, in the early morning hours on Tuesday, WVU basketball big man Derek Culver again took to Instagram to then reverse course to announce that he's indeed signed with an agent. Reportedly, because the agency is not sanctioned with the NCAA, Culver cannot test the waters as Deuce McBride, Sean McNeil, and Taz Sherman are. Culver is done, and his social media announcement has said as much. Quote, I had not officially announced my intentions publicly to leave school, and that reports of me doing so were unconfirmed. I refuted these claims as I felt it unfair for those who have supported me over the years to hear it from other sources before hearing it from me directly. Now, I would like to state on my terms that I've officially declared for the NBA draft and have signed with Athlete Sports Management. End quote. WVU has been busy this offseason in the transfer portal, bringing in 3 so far: a 6'9", 215-pound big man from FIU, Damon Kerrigan; Malik Curry, a 6'1" guard and leading scorer at Old Dominion, is now a Mountaineer; and most recently, Paulie Polycap, a 6'8" big man from DePaul, all signing. Meanwhile, 10 years after opening the season in Charlotte against Tennessee, the Mountaineers and Vols will do it again. September 2nd, 2028, Rocky Top and Almost Heaven will clash. The announcement was made yesterday. I'm Dan Zangrilli, and that's today's Mountaineer Report, brought to us by Kroger here on MSN, the Mountaineer Sports Network from Learfield, IMG College.
Technology can be challenging for business leaders, but Omni Strategic Technologies enables your business to perform without limits. They're the only IT company the Watchdog trusts. Omni offers IT managed services, cybersecurity and advisory solutions, backup and disaster recovery, and can handle all your hardware needs. If your business is faced with any technology challenges, the answer is simple. Call Omni Strategic Technologies at 304-242-7600 or visit them at www.omniperforms.com.
Hello.
Darling, where are you?
Why, honey, I'm at my favorite store, Rule King. I'm getting my mom some flowers for Mother's Day.
Oh, good. Pick up my mama something special while you're there as well.
Friends, don't forget Mother's Days are coming up real soon, so get your mom something special from Rule King. Nobody beats their prices.
Get all of the moms in your life something special, you hear?
Yes, dear.
Thank you.
Did you know that 3 Ohioans are diagnosed with oral cancer every day? Dentists are doctors of dental surgery and can recognize life-threatening conditions and treat oral diseases before they become serious health complications. Ohio Dental Association member dentists are located throughout the state and are dedicated to providing the highest quality dental care. Ask if your dentist is a member of the Ohio Dental Association and American Dental Association, so you know you're being treated by the best. To find an ODA dentist in your area, visit associationsadvanceohio.com.
Over the years, you've brought opioids into your home. They helped when you were in pain, and you held on to them just in case. But holding on to opioids puts your family at risk. Learn more at www.fda.gov/drug disposal.
Plumbers and Steamfitters Local 83 want to thank the owners and contractors of the Ohio Valley.
All right, Ronnie, thank you.
Plumbers and Steamfitters Local 83 is 300 members strong and growing. They also do residential, commercial, and industrial work on both sides of the river. For more information, call Plumbers and Steamfitters Local 83 at 304-233-4445.
A serious injury from an accident can be just the start of your worries. What if you cannot return to work? How do you take care of your family if you're disabled? At Gelner Law Offices, we represent seriously injured people and understand their problem. We know how to get you fair compensation. We will work hard to make sure you get the money you deserve for your losses. Don't go it alone. If you're hurt in an accident, call us at 304-242-2900 or visit us at gelnerlaw.com.
We'd like to help.
Bethlehem. The Watchdog is protecting your yard. Join Howard Monroe, Hoppy Kercheval, Bill DeFabio, and Big Rick for the best live and local talk in the Upper Ohio Valley and beyond. Bethlehem trusts the Watchdog.
From the West Virginia Broadcasting Hall of Fame, directly to you. This is the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe, brought to you in part by Wheeling Hospital.
67 degrees at the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport. Cloudy skies this morning. Going to be a muggy day today. Might see some rain coming in this afternoon. Even some storms by late afternoon. So be aware of that. Daytime high up to around 77 degrees. Dark, dreary, and rainy day all day tomorrow. It is no great secret that West Virginia is losing population. A lot of the focus of talk about the income tax in West Virginia this past legislative session was because of the acknowledgement that we're losing population. We are the only state, I think, in the last 70 years to have a total loss of population. And that has a lot of implications. And we've been talking about it a bit this week because of the census numbers that are now coming out. And one of the things that's going to happen, we've known it's going to happen, it's not a great surprise, it's been talked about, is losing a congressional seat. Ohio's going to lose one, so is Pennsylvania, so our whole region will have fewer members of Congress. But in West Virginia, from 3 to 2, Hoppy Kercheval is here with me. He's been pursuing a lot of this on Statewide Talk Line, and I know he's probably got some thoughts on it, so let's talk about it. Good morning, Hop.
Good morning, Howard. How are you?
Good. How many, we used to have 6 members of Congress at one time?
Yeah, back to 1960, 50 and 60. And at one time, West Virginia did, in fact, have 6 members of the House of Representatives. And then through the loss of population here, the gradual decline and increase in population in other parts of the country, and West Virginia has continued to lose seats. And now after this, as you pointed out, after this most recent census, West Virginia will be down from 3 to 2.
I remember 4 is a number I remember for quite a good bit. Then I remember we went to 3. And of course, now we're likely to go to 2. Let's talk about the implications of that on a couple of levels. First of all, just from a political point of view, it's going to create, the 3 current members of Congress have got to figure out what in the world they want to do, right?
Yeah, I think you have a political musical chairs there. You have from the 1st District, David McKinley from there in Wheeling, the 2nd District, Alex Mooney from Jefferson County, and from the 3rd District, Carol Miller from Southern West Virginia. And they have to, if each wants to remain in Congress, or at least then they have to figure out what they're going to do. So after the census, after the states get the breakdown of the voter blocks, which is not going to, from the Census Bureau, which is not going to come until later this year in September. And that's when the new boundaries will be drawn for state Senate, House of Delegates, and for the congressional districts. And then they have to draw the line. There'll be one line in West Virginia that will separate the 2 congressional districts, and then where is that line drawn? Howard, if you draw it east to west, which seems like a logical way to do it, then you're probably going to end up with Mooney and McKinley in the same district. Maybe there'd be a way to draw this thing north and south that would put Miller and Mooney in the same district, or Miller and McKinley, but that seems kind of awkward. The natural inclination would be to draw it east-west and have Mooney and McKinley in the same district. But again, that's really early because the data has not, the specific data hasn't come in, and the legislature hasn't drawn the boundaries yet.
And when the boundaries are drawn, both at a primary level and then, of course, at a general election level, candidates may take a look at how the new districts are set up, and you may see some new names popping up because somebody may feel in a newer district they've got a better shot than they would have had before against an incumbent, whether it's in a primary or in a general election. So a lot of this is just really up in the air.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think it's clear yet what Miller, Mooney, or McKinley, what their plans are.
Right.
Because, Howard, you cover these things. There's, in 2024, there's going to be a lot going on in West Virginia. Now, we're talking about 2022 for Congress, but 2024, you're going to have a governor's race. You're going to have U.S. Senate is up. Joe Manchin's seat is up. You're going to have Board of Public Works. You'll have I was almost at all 3, but you'll have 2 congressional districts. And you have a lot of Republicans, of course, Democrats, who are be shuffling to look to see where they might fit in. So there's a lot to play out here.
Of the incumbents in Congress, my sense would be that McKinley may be looking around the most at something else.
Well, I'd say I need to talk with him. I mean, McKinley has always had his eye on the governorship.
Right.
And I just don't know whether he still has his eye on that, number one. Number two, I mean, he's in his 70s, but he's in good health. Number three is that I don't think nobody likes a primary challenge, and it could be, frankly, it could be tough for McKinley if he's in a primary with Alex Mooney, because McKinley is more moderate Republican and Mooney is more conservative Republican, far more conservative than McKinley. So in a primary, who has an advantage there, Howard? I mean, you have geographically, you have Mooney with the growing Eastern Panhandle in Berkeley County, and look, conservative Republicans turn out to vote in Republican primaries.
Yeah.
So Mooney could have an advantage there.
And again, it may depend on how the districts are set up. I mean, even though we're a conservative state, there are some areas that are much more conservative than others. So a lot of this is at this moment is pure speculation. But you have to assume that all three members of Congress are looking at their options right now and trying to figure out, what do I do? Because honestly, the election's not that far away now.
Right, and here's something else to think about, Howard. And this has less to do with Congress. By the way, you don't have to live in your congressional district.
I forgot about that. You're right. That's exactly right.
Which is kind of an oddity, but it's true. Now, obviously, it's an advantage. And if you and I were running against each other and you were living out of the district, of course, that's the first thing I would say is Howard Monroe doesn't even live in the district. So technically, you don't have to, but it's a distinct disadvantage if you don't. Now, think about this, Howard, in terms of the members of the House and Senate. These boundaries are not going to be redrawn until later this year. But I believe, I was checking on this morning, according to the Constitution, for the House and the Senate, you have to have lived in that district for a year to qualify to represent that district if you're elected. So they need these boundaries drawn for the House and Senate by early November so that individuals who want to be in the House and Senate can make their decisions about running or where they'll run. So there's a time issue here.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but we also are, for the House, going to be into single-member districts now, right?
Right. So,
and that's going to complicate things.
Yeah, it will. So my understanding is that the staff at the House and Senate in Charleston are getting together what the process will be and getting the software. And because, as I said, you actually micro this thing down to voter districts. It's broken down more so than just precincts. It's voter blocks. It's voter blocks within precincts. So they're getting the software together, getting the organizational part together, but they're not going to get the data from census until September, which, by the way, I understand is an issue. I think a lot of states have been complaining about that, saying, look, why didn't we have this sooner? It's kind of a process story, but I think that a lot of states are upset about that.
So, but you've got, for example, here in the 3rd District, both of our members of the House are very popular. Erica Storch, usually the top vote getter, and Sean Fluharty does very well as well. One of them, I mean, in the current district, they can't both run, so how are they going to divide the district up? I mean, these are the kind of things that are going to make a huge difference, and it's going to get very late into the election season before some of these things are answered.
Yeah, and I don't know where those two live, but that's going to be very relevant. And the Republicans are in charge. They have the supermajorities in the House and Senate. So guess what? They have tremendous sway in how these lines are drawn. And I remember when they did it 10 years ago or 20 years ago, wherever, and they had a map room in the basement of the Capitol, and boy, there was a lot of traffic in and out. of legislators just trying to figure out where to draw the line and, what voting district was beneficial to them or to their opponent. And this will get real complicated real fast and real messy real fast.
I was a newbie covering the state politics and stuff once upon a time, and one of our local delegates said, Howard, they're gerrymandering this whole district. They're purposely keeping me out so I can't win. I said, oh, come on, that's not the way it works. And he came to my house and brought maps. And he said, all right, here's my house, and look at how they've got me. I said, oh, my God.
Of course that's how it works.
I guess it is. I guess it is the way it works. And I remember that evening looking at that map, and it was like a light bulb moment in my life. Holy crap, this is the way they do things. Hop, I got to run. What's up on Talkline today?
Well, we're going to talk about this. We're going to get into this. Also, the President's address tonight, not a State of the Union, but an address to a joint session of Congress. And I think I'm going to talk with the first person who registered to vote when the voting age was lowered to 18.
Oh, that's cool. That'll be interesting. Right, very good. Statewide Talkline today, 10:06. We'll all be listening, and I'll talk to you again soon. Thank you, Hop. Appreciate it. Hoppy Kirchville Statewide Talkline. Biffy, it's time for me to say sayonara, see you, gotta go, gotta get out of here. I'll be back tomorrow morning, 7 o'clock. Are you back with me?
Back for a Thursday.
We'll keep on doing it till we get it right.
That could be a long time.
Yes, it could.
The Watchdog is FM 98.1, AM 1600 WKKX Wheeling, FM 97.7, AM 1370 WVLY Moundsville.
The ABC News is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
Unveil ABC.
All right, Biffy. Other than my time screwing, I BS too much at the start of the hour, and then I don't get to my guest, and then that throws everything off, and it's all my fault, and it just irritates the heck out of me because I don't get things done. I wish I had more time with Hoppy, but it was my own fault. Let's see. Tomorrow we're going to try Chuck Collins again. I didn't really get an answer as to why he didn't call in. I think he just forgot yesterday, but we did reschedule him for tomorrow. And may try Dave Palmer since he's got some concerns about this housing thing. And I guess Wade called you during a break or something, right? Right. But I told him if he wanted to call tomorrow, we have some time because he did used to run this housing inspection program for the city, so. He might, I'm not going to schedule him as a guest, but if he calls when we have time tomorrow, it could be a good perspective, so. And I'll figure something else out. All right, there is no meeting today, so I'm not coming in today. Although I have to come down and get, Bill left me stuff in my box, I think, didn't he? For this next week, we've got a Mother's Day giveaway. Yeah, so I may stop in and pick that up so at least know what we're doing. We're giving away some River City something or another. I may have to stop in and just pick things up, but there's no meeting, so I'm not on any time frame, but I may pop in later. And if you need me, call me. Otherwise, I will just talk to you in the morning. Thanks a lot. Appreciate your help. Thanks a lot. Bye.
You can take care of yourself.
I do. I play tennis. I try to eat well.
What about screening for colon cancer?
Not yet.
Don't wait. Colon cancer is more treatable when it's caught in early stages.
Tell me more.
Cologuard is non-invasive and is used at home. It detects altered DNA in your stool to find 92% of colon cancers.
92%?
Yep, even those in early stages.
This was seen in a clinical study with patients 50 and older. Any positive result should be followed by a diagnostic colonoscopy. False